Hey guys, welcome back. This is an audio only reading. I am not pulling cards, I'm directly channeling, and maybe I'll do a little bit of automatic writing too. But I had the headache from hell yesterday, so I didn't get to wash my hair as planned. So I got to do that today. So we're not camera ready, anyways. But also, I figured out how to get that other background off and add slides. So that's cool because that will come in handy in the future for my patrons and some presentations that I want to do with them. So in the meantime, before we do jump in, if you would like to join me over on patreon.com/psychicbellalove, we do weekly lives. Everything is uncensored. That's where we talk about the Illuminati and the truth about what really goes on in Hollywood and in these secret societies. We talk about all kinds of things that we can't talk about over here on YouTube, and all of that content is exclusive to the platform, and you can join for as little as $3 a month. Also, if you would like to book a personal private reading with me, you can always go to psychicbellalove.com, and I've extended the 50% off all appointments for the rest of April as well with code MOVE because I got to move out of my place. So by booking a reading, you help donate to that fund. So anyways, we're going to be looking at Dorit and PK, and what inspired me to start picking up all this stuff about them was that I was just commenting back and forth with a sweet person over on Instagram about their dynamics and the way that some of the things that PK has been saying about Dorit reminds me of things that were said about me after I left my older ex-husband as well, who I also married young. And so I was joking at first, and I said, what did inspire Dorit, to end up with PK? I'm curious about her upbringing. Did she have some sort of trauma that, attracted to her to him? Because in a sense, I think it is a little bit understandable how Erica ended up with Tom, right? Even though obviously that didn't work out the way that she thought it was going to end up, but she didn't have the best upbringing. Then she became a single mom at a young age and was kind of, having to do whatever she could do to take care of herself and her child, from dancing in clubs to being bartender and cocktail waitress. So of course, when you've been in that struggle and here comes this very connected, very charming older man who, has money, and obviously we all know now that he wasn't always getting all of his money in legit ways, but I'm sure when she first met Tom, she had no inkling that he was involved in any of that kind of stuff. It's understandable how Erica saw that as oh, this is an escape from my life, basically, and this is going to set me and my child up in a better space, and we'll be taken care of and get to have all of these things that I would never be able to experience on my own, because when was Erica, the bartender, the single mom, going to go on a private jet or buy designer clothes or things like that? So Dorit didn't grow up that way, though. Dorit comes from a privileged family. And, because I was saying Dorit could have, if just the goal was to marry wealthy, it's not like she wasn't already running in certain circles where she could have met an actually wealthy man who came from a really good family and didn't have all of the baggage and the drama that PK brought along with him. and gotten herself a really good looking investment banker on the Upper East Side or something like that. So the Spirit was saying, that was kind of Dorit's rebellious streak, actually. It's like she liked the benefits and the luxuries that came with the lifestyle that she grew up in and around. And I do feel like there was an expectation from people around her that, oh, you are going to marry, some nice Jewish boy from a nice, family, and you're going to get married in the temple, and you're going to live this, typical Upper East Sider life or a Connecticut life. And it feels like Paul was, or PK, is a bit of the antithesis to that, where it's like, you still got the luxury aspect of being with him, but he was a party animal, and he was say things that, weren't politically correct. And he was hanging out with certain groups of people that were known for partying, and Boy George and other celebrities. And so Spirit is saying, it's like Dorit was kind of picking and choosing, right? Like, I want the flashy life and the money and the travel and the designer and the things that come with that, but I don't want to live this typical life that would be expected of a girl in my situation. And that seems boring to me. And so PK attracted her because he was kind of the rebellious bad boy in a sense. And Spirit is saying, because she was caught up in that bad boy fantasy, like, she didn't think things through as to, even if my husband's bankruptcies and divorces and other financial issues and gambling problems and whatnot happened before me, doesn't mean it won't still affect me, which it obviously has throughout their marriage. She didn't see that side of things or think that through because, she was in Delulu land. And listen, we've all been there when we're younger, when we are acting from a place of us that isn't fully healed or doesn't really truly know who we are, or just, or, that's why there's the saying, stupid in love, right? So I asked Spirit, kind of around, like, is this divorce real? What's really going on here? And I was very surprised by what I got. And Spirit is saying that, Dorit really truly was blindsided by PK in him wanting this divorce and even the separation. She feels like, as much as he's saying to people that, oh, Dorit has changed and she's not still the same girl that I knew before and this and that, Dorit equally feels the same about PK. Her saying that he didn't always talk to her so nicely behind closed doors. Spirit saying that's definitely true. I feel like PK is a narcissist, right? And narcissistic men, when they're out in public and they want to impress other people, they want to be seen as husband of the year and the family man. And, that's why there's like a lot of narcissists that run charities too, because they live for the glory that they get. If, oh, look at what a wonderful person you are, raising all this money for this foundation, but yet, behind the scenes, they're horrible to their families. Same thing goes with pastors. There's a lot of men out there that have a public perception of who they are that is very different from who their family gets and their loved ones, and especially their partners. And so Spirit is saying, and then you add in that he was drinking a lot and that exacerbates it. And they're saying that Dorit is, I don't think she's fully come to the realization or wants to say, even when she does, that PK is a narcissistic person and that whoever he is when he's, been drinking, it's just the magnified version of who he is when he's not. I think it's like she's using the drinking as a scapegoat for all of the bad behavior because it's too much to process all at once for her to really, realize everything that she's been through. And I think anybody that has left somebody that is a narcissist, we all kind of understand that you go through that shock, and you're just sort of like, okay, I don't have this person controlling my every move, and now I have to just figure out how I'm going to make decisions on my own. That the emotional side of things and really, really realizing everything that you did go through, and wow, that wasn't normal, and oh my God, that was wrong, and oh geez, I didn't even realize at the moment that this was happening, that they were even doing this horrible thing. That comes later after you sort of pick up the pieces and figure out, like, how am I even going to move forwards? And especially because Dorit is in this place, or at least, was, but from what we saw from this last season that has been airing, she was still in that limbo of, I don't understand even what we're doing yet. So it's like she couldn't really fully begin to start processing everything that happened in that relationship. I feel like in the future, if she decides to keep speaking out, because I do feel like, she does take it into account, at least will be more so going forwards, that the kids, maybe little now, but in a few years, they're not going to be so little, and they will, at some point in time come across the things that you and their dad were saying about each other. And I think that part will hit her. So I think that she'll sort of say things, but not go into too much detail about, a lot of the darker aspects of their relationship and what she was hiding from the world for a long time. I think some of it was her consciously hiding things, but I think other parts of it were her feeling like, I have to defend this person because they're my husband. Also, if I don't go out of my way to say what a great person he is, whether he is or not, I'm going to pay for it, obviously, at home, because somebody like that is not going to take it lightly that you weren't kissing their butt and telling everybody how wonderful they were. And so, and then there's the other aspect of just not even realizing how bad certain parts of it all were as well. But Spirit is saying that Dorit really was committed to trying to work on their marriage. She does, even if she was or did fall out of love with PK at some point, she was so used to him being there. There was a level of codependence. And also, I do feel like there was a lot of fear around having to support herself and the kids, and also not wanting her kids to have this stigma of my parents' marriage didn't work out. So it really was going to take PK pulling the plug for it to go the way that it did. But that's the way that it's supposed to be, is what Spirit is saying. Like, they were not supposed to be together forever. Now, this is what's interesting, though. I think Dorit has already seen her income go up a bit since they've separated, but there is going to be a legal divorce, guys. I think that sometime either later this year or early next year, we're going to see it filed. Once Dorit is really in the place where, she's really moving forwards without him, Spirit said she's going to make a lot of money. Like, she's going to have a lot of opportunities that come her way. I see her making like a smart investment in some company. Maybe it's one of those things where it's like, oh, like you sign on to this and we give you 10% shareholder stocks and then you act as like, the face of the brand or whatever. But what Spirit's saying is that's a brand that's going to like take off and make her a lot of money. Like, Dorit actually, her financial situation is going to go up so much. The funny thing is, I do see PK after, they've separated completely, fine, divorced, whatever. I also see him making some money, but I also see it not being enough. It's like a very short-lived win, and then he blows right through it anyways. And then the whole cycle of where PK was before Dorit even met him all starts to just take place again. Gambling, drinking, partying, spending money on dumb shit, just out of control. Like, he's going to have some out of control years is what Spirit is saying coming up. And I honestly feel like the universe pushed him to pull the plug on this marriage and think that this is what he was doing was the right thing to save Dorit and the kids from having to be around him when he's going to be in that energy. Because sometimes, things that seem like they're not great that are happening to us are actually happening for us to move us out of the way so we don't have to go on somebody else's tower card moment with them. Because every time that I'm picturing Dorit, like, Spirit keeps showing her as like the Queen of Pentacles with the Wheel of Fortune next to her and like all the Pentacle cards after her. Like, she's just hitting this lucky jackpot where like her financials just get so much better. So even if she is left with anything to pay for because of PK, in their marriage, it's like she's able to pay that easily. And she'll be able to turn her situation around, actually. I actually see her like hosting some kind of a show too, where there's like fashion talk. It's kind of a lifestyle show, and they talk a lot about fashion and like Dorit, really like, it's like she's in her elements. Because it's like, oh, we're talking about the newest runway shows or some, did you guys see this? Did you see this person on the red carpet wearing, Versace? And then it's just like, it matches what Dorit should have been doing a long time ago. And the thing is, the Spirit's saying it's not that Dorit actually didn't have so many opportunities. It's that she allowed PK to manage her. So any opportunity, like, PK was jealous, okay? So he held Dorit back quite a bit, where it's like he would let her take on dumb things like, oh, go redecorate the Buca de Beppo room. But if there was an opportunity for her to go host some show like that, like, he wouldn't even tell her that it came up. Or he would tell her, oh, that's not going to work for us. You can't do that, and guilt her into not moving forwards with it. Even if it would have made them a lot of money, just because he was always like, no, like, if you get too big, then you might try to leave me. Now, is he leaving her because there's somebody else? Most definitely. This other woman is nowhere near as pretty as Dorit. And actually, I feel like Dorit might even be younger than the other woman. Because it's like, she's kind of one of those tough old broad chicks, like biker chick energy almost, but not really. But it's like somebody that's been around and partied a lot and knows how to have a good time, and be quiet, and they're, always up for fun, but they're not like, oh, let's get married and have a bunch of babies or anything like that. And so it's like that other woman's energy aligns with PK and him wanting to go be a party boy. So, and he's still partying, you guys. What he does is he just doesn't do it so much in LA. But then the second that he's out of there, he's back out and partying again. So it's like binging, if that makes sense. I'm the family man, the sober guy when I'm in LA because I'm around my young kids and there's too many eyes watching me, and I don't want people saying certain things yet. The second that I leave, and I feel like I'm in safe territory again, where is the bottles? Turn the music up, call a bunch of people over, let's have a good time. So something's going to come out this summer where we're going to see pictures of him out partying somewhere else. So it'll confirm to everybody what I'm saying. And it'll probably be a hot topic next year on Beverly Hills. Everybody wanting to ask Dorit about it if she, comes back. I'm not going to do a reading on the whole show right now. I just want to focus on these two and what Spirit is saying about it. So basically what Spirit is saying is the only reason why they have not filed for divorce yet is because, not because they're going to work anything out. I don't feel like, he was trying to leave her before 10 years or anything like that. Because Spirit's saying there's really not anything, there's no assets to divide at all. It's just more so like who's going to be responsible for what debt is what's holding them up. And Dorit needs to make sure that she gets herself a good lawyer because PK will play shady as much as he can get away with without, disclosing certain things or trying to hide certain stuff. And that could really come back to obviously then be a pain in Dorit's butt later on when it's like, oh, here's all these other bills that we didn't know about when we were doing the divorce. And now all of a sudden, like, they're coming after me. But I had never even seen like what this or that is for. He kept her in the dark a lot about finances, and she should have paid attention way more when Erica was going through her divorce and figuring out how much Tom had, lied to her about certain things and hid certain things from her that ended up causing her a bunch of legal issues because, it's like Dorit didn't take that and be like, oh, I need to start going and sitting down and making PK show me all the books in our accounts. Like, she was just like, that's so sad that happened to Erica. And then didn't even cross her mind that like, maybe I should go like make sure that's not going to be me. So Dorit had a little bit of the Teresa Giudice syndrome when it came to just blindly trusting her husband with the financials and here, sign this paper. Oh, we're going to put this under your name. Okay, fine, yeah, but don't worry, I'll pay for it. Okay, no problem. And I don't think that Dorit is going to go to jail for tax evasion or anything like that. But I do think that there are a lot of debts that have been incurred that it would be in her very best interest to make sure that she's got a forensic accountant and some really great lawyers who are going to make sure that Dorit doesn't end up, being the one that has to pay for a lot of the stuff that PK did or didn't pay for. But yeah, that's the biggest holdup for them, right now. At some point, PK is going to hit his rock bottom, a few years down the road and be like, oh shit, I really messed that up and I should have tried to work things out with Dorit. But Dorit will be so moved on in her life. And I don't know why I keep getting Dorit ending up with like a retired athlete. And maybe somebody, like, they keep showing me a baseball uniform. Let's hope it's a baseball player because they get the best contracts and make the most money when it comes to sports. But Dorit is going to end up with a wealthier and better looking man, and one that I feel like the kids really enjoy him. And, you know, she has a really great time with this person because I feel like, you know, if we are able to see that relationship play out on Housewives, people are gonna be like, oh, Dorit's really in her soft girl era and being loved now, and like, look at how like affectionate and nice and sweet and, you know, thoughtful that this guy is to her. And there's definitely gonna be a lot of comparisons, you know, about how he's so much better than PK ever was. So, and that'll drive PK insane, because he's just gonna be, you know, with a bunch of old drunk broads. Nobody else is going to be lining up to get with PK. Let's be real freaking honest here, okay? Not the guy who's not that attractive to begin with, that also has a whole bunch of debt and problems and a bunch of ex-wives. So I think that we'll see Dorit date a little bit before she ends up with the baseball player or the former athlete. And I think that, you know, purposefully, we might see her date a few like male model types, you know, maybe somebody that, you know, is very physically attractive, maybe slightly younger, just to be like, look what I can get, and kind of rub it in PK's face a little bit. But, you know, those are people that I don't feel like she's going to take too seriously. It's like her first dates and people that she's just having fun with, you know, kind of getting back out there again. And then Spirit is saying she will be set up by a friend or introduced to by a friend to the guy that she ends up with. So Dorit actually has a lot of good in front of her. This is like the part that she just has to get through. And for my astrology nerds, Spirit is saying look up Dorit's solar return charts, because there's probably some aspect that is like very transformational taking place in her chart over last year and this year. Not the regular birth chart, but the solar return charts that looks at your year and where all the planets are affecting you in that year. And because Spirit's talking about, you know, she's going to move. It's like everything in her life is going to change, but it's going to be for the better. You know, it's like it feels tough while she's going through it, but it's all ultimately to lead her to something better and to also help her grow and change, because she has to kind of get out of that codependency that she's been stuck in order to really find herself, to be then able to let the right person in. So, but nope, their divorce is real. You can go back and look on my channel. I have 2 channels, so I can't remember exactly which one it's on, but I did do a reading on if the robbery was fake and some other stuff regarding them. So, and I also told you guys then a couple years ago that Mo and Kyle were going to end up divorced. And this was before there was even rumors of separation or Morgan hanging around or any of that. I will do a reading on them next. So stay tuned for that. I don't take requests, but if you would like to join me anywhere else or book your own personal private reading, all that information will be in the description box below. And make sure that you do subscribe and like the video to help me out. I had to take time off for health issues, so All of the engagement helps to put me back on the good side of the algorithm again. And thanks, guys. Bye.